So Meta has smashed their latest earnings report, and they've declared a dividend for the first time in the company's history at 50 cents per share, which is a quarterly dividend. So that goes up to a $2 per year dividend, which at current prices would yield around 0.4%. And Amazon also beat earnings nicely. Not It didn't go up as much as Meta, but it's another great check mark on the economy, I guess, or at least on the stock market. So it does seem like for now, I know we just mentioned how rate cuts are going to hurt the economy, but we're not seeing at least the big techs really hurting. In fact, they're beating all of these metrics and all these earnings expectations by quite a bit. So just to run through some of the data from the latest earnings report from Meta. So they reported the fourth quarter revenue to be 40.11 billion, which beat expectations of 39.01 billion. So they beat by just over $1 billion right there in revenue. EPS, they came in with 5.33, and the estimate was 4.91. So nice beat there as well. Monthly active users 3.07 billion, which beat slightly by the expectations, which were 3.06 billion. So they only beat by 10 million. But the fact that 3.07 billion people use Meta on a monthly basis is absolutely insane, considering that there's only 8 billion people in the world, and not everyone has access to the internet even, right? So basically that's the Meta earnings, and Meta shares went up 20% the day after they reported their earnings, and they've smashed through $400, and a couple more good days they're going to be over $500 per share. So the stock is at all-time highs, and just wondering, what are your thoughts on this? Is this evidence that the Fed has pulled off the so-called soft landing, which is raising interest rates to historically high levels at a historically fast pace without causing a recession? So do you think that the Fed has pulled off a soft landing? Why or why not? And if so, do you think that the earnings of tech companies will continue to smash expectations?
Well, I think these companies have so many people working for them, and inevitably they're always going to find a way to make profit and money and always do better. So regardless of like the financial situation, they're always going to pull through, it seems, obviously, based off the stock. And if there's a will, there's a way, especially for these big, huge tech stocks, for sure. And I was just thinking in the back of my head, I'm kind of kicking my head right now, so to speak. We all had an opportunity to buy the stock at 90. What was it? Sometime in like early 2023, 2022. I can't remember the exact number, but now looking at the stock at today's number of 474 versus $90, of which we could have bought it at, totally brutal. Oh gosh. And to add to as well, I think Meta's kind of like an exception, just because no matter what, people are going to use Instagram. I guess some people are using Threads. Depends on what kind of person you are. I personally don't use Threads that much, but people still use it. And Facebook, Instagram, people are still on that for sure. Like, I'm on it daily, so you can't deny the usage for that. So they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely shocking. And again, some people might accuse me of trying to pump a bag, but believe me, I wish I could move this stock, but I'm just some random guy, so I can't pump it even if I wanted to. But I'm just gonna mention PayPal right here and now, because I really do see a lot of similarities between PayPal now and Meta back when it was trading at $90 or whatever it was at its lowest point, because back then Meta was seen as a dead company. They're spending so much on virtual reality and the metaverse, and that's not panning out, and they've overhired, and their profitability is going down, and their monthly active users has like started to decline for the first time ever. So there was just bad news on top of bad news, right? And then now look what has happened, right? So they did a bunch of layoffs. They kind of reined in the costs, and then the stock just skyrocketed. Because I think what the market misunderstands is that fundamentally, Meta is a very profitable business model, and it didn't stop being profitable. Yes, their monthly active users did go down at one point, but and they did overhire. But those are things that management could easily take a few quarters to correct, and then the stock will go back up, right? So I think that's kind of what's happening with PayPal right now. Not financial advice. Don't just go out and buy a stock because some YouTuber or you heard it from a podcast. But I think PayPal is kind of the same story where people are saying it's an old company, it's their business model is not working. Well, they're still profitable, right? They're still making money, and they just got a new CEO, and they're he's doing layoffs, which is unfortunate for the people that are getting laid off. But the fact is that once they finish these layoffs, their costs are going to be reined in, and then you're going to see that profitability go up. So I really do think that, and also PayPal's trading at a forward PE of like 11. So, you would think that just from looking at the PE that they were selling bricks or something. It is like a brick making company, but no, it's like one of the biggest fintech companies in the world, right? So I really do think that you don't have to be sad, Dominic, that you missed the Meta train, because PayPal is, I think, one of the candidates for the next Meta-like run. But that's just my opinion. But bringing it back to Meta, Tristan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we're all a little bit kicking ourselves for not jumping on the Meta train as much as we could have, or at all for some of us, So I think we're all a little bit, you know, it's not surprising to me seeing it back at this price, because I think that Meta has, as Andy was saying, Meta's like very profitable business, um, and they have a lot of things to make the company very desirable, and make the company very influential in terms of like the amount of power and the amount of uh, like financial backing they have behind them. So they're not going anywhere anytime soon, and they have the fact of the matter is that they pretty much have cornered the social media market pretty aggressively. Like almost every major social media site is in some way related to Meta. WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, all of those are huge sites. Like they've got that down. And I know everyone was very bearish on the whole metaverse and everything, but I think that in the long run, that sector has a lot of potential that makes Meta have like an area that makes it a little bit more unique compared to some of the other competitors in the field. Um, so I think Meta will be doing well and continuing to do well. I'm not surprised that it's doing well. Um, and yeah, I think it's regarding what Andy was saying earlier with, is this a sign of a soft landing? I'm not sure if this is a soft landing per se, because well, I understand that these prices are rather high for the stocks, like they're going up, they're at new all-time highs. At the same time, like there's more money supply theoretically available in general because of the fact that there was so much inflation there. So, I think some of this will just be the result of there being high inflation. There's just um more money kicking around, and because Meta is an asset, not a and it's not depreciating, there's going to be a lot of it's going to tend to trend higher just in general, as a profitable company that will be managing to still generate returns, and clearly supplying a dividend is another way that they're generating returns to their shareholders. So I'm not sure if this is showing a soft landing by itself, along with the other companies doing well in the S&P 500, but it's definitely, I would say, better for it to be higher than it to be lower, So there's that.
Yeah, and I think that maybe the argument against a soft landing is that a lot of these gains in the stock market have concentrated in what's called the Magnificent Seven, which are just the seven biggest companies in the S&P 500. Or some people say Magnificent Six because Tesla hasn't actually been doing that well. So, Jim Cramer is advocating for Tesla to be kicked out of the Mag 7. So it's the Mag 6 now, according to Cramer. But maybe that's a bottom sign because inverse Cramer, and he's, tend to be always wrong. So, but yeah, I mean, regardless, maybe it is a valid argument, I think, to just kind of say that the market breadth, which means that like it's very concentrated, right? Like all the gains are concentrated in the Mag 7. So maybe that is a problem going forward or maybe it will be a problem going forward for the stock market, whereas other stocks are not really going up pretty much at all, and then you have the Mag 7 just taking off. But yeah, I mean, maybe that could be a debate for another day. One final note that I wanted to make to go back to what Tristan said earlier about the metaverse. I think that with the release of the Apple Vision Pro, there's kind of momentum, at least in my opinion, that I feel in the metaverse space again, because Apple doesn't call it a metaverse product, but essentially it is exactly that, right? So it's augmented reality. They call it spatial computing or something like that. But yeah, anyways, Apple always has to come up with their own terms for things that are just completely just normal, where other companies would call it a normal name, but Apple has to get fancy with it. But regardless of what they call it, I think the Apple Vision Pro is a metaverse product that has gained a lot of momentum, and a lot of people are talking about it. And despite lackluster sales that's mostly because of his high price tag, right? But I think the people that can afford it are the tech reviewers who are making YouTube videos about it. It is really cool, and I think that will bring a lot more interest. And Meta owns Oculus, by the way, so they bought Oculus as a metaverse investment way back in the day, and the Meta Quest is significantly, even the most expensive one, is significantly cheaper than the Apple Vision Pro, right? Sure, it doesn't, like, maybe it's not as cool as the Apple Vision Pro. It doesn't have as many features. It doesn't look as nice, but just the fact that it's a lot cheaper, it's a lot more accessible. I think it's going to draw a lot of people to like kind of at least think about it, right? Because people might see a video on Apple Vision Pro and be like, that's so cool, but I can't afford it. Oh, wait, what's this? Meta Quest? I might get that instead, right? So I think maybe there's going to be some of that going on. And I think that's another bullish tailwind for Meta stock.
Yeah. Sorry, just to jump in there on that front quickly. The Quest and the Quest series from from Meta, they are by far the most sold and the most purchased VR devices, period. Like they've got like 80% or more of the VR space cornered in terms of who owns what devices. So that's another very bullish factor on that front. Sorry, Dom, you can go.
No worries. I had the time to check the prices for the Meta Quest. So it looks like in Canadian, it's $849.99. So that's obviously a lot cheaper than the Apple Vision Pro, which is kind of crazy. And then to what Andy said is exactly what happened to me. So if you guys remember, I sent you guys last night the Casey Neistat video of him just walking around New York City with his Apple Vision Pro. I didn't really look too much into it, just besides us talking about it at the last podcast. After watching that video, I'm like, damn, this is actually really cool. He was like walking in the middle of the streets of New York. he had his windows open. Sometimes when he was moving, like the windows would disappear, but otherwise it was kind of like borderline dystopian. It's kind of, I don't know, like Wall-E vibes. Like I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's cool nonetheless. You can have a window on the side while you're walking and going to places. And then that actually led me to take a look at the Meta Quest 3. I'm seeing here now that's way cheaper. So it
If you wanna
honestly is a
go-
go ahead.
If you want to go even cheaper, the Quest 2 is only 350.
Oh damn. Yeah, see
Like
there you
that,
go. Yeah.
that's obtainium.
That's like I guess like a budget no-brainer, right? It definitely led me to looking into it a lot more. So yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, to the note of it being dystopian, I have seen pictures of just like tech bros wearing it while like at dinner or just in a restaurant, or like some people even wear it while driving, which is definitely not recommended. But yeah, I mean, because it has the camera pass through, right? So it's kind of different than maybe the Meta Quest, where it's like a fully virtual reality kind of scene. But with the Apple Vision Pro, it's like the camera passes the what's in reality through to your eyes, but it just augments things on the reality. So you can technically still see through it, and you can see other people when you're wearing it and walking around. So that makes it slightly different. But yeah, I mean, it is, to Dom's point, kind of dystopian, where you have a bunch of people just wearing these space looking goggles and headsets and not interacting with like things that other people can see, right? Because they can see this stuff. And like, it's just, if you want to watch a movie with your significant other, like you can't, because it's for one, right? So you're just sitting back and watching a big screen while like everyone else sees nothing. But yeah, I mean, I guess that is the reality that is being brought forth by Apple. So whether you like it or not, it's coming.
The Quest 2, I know it also has pass through via cameras on the outside. I'm not sure about the Quest 3. I haven't looked into that one in specific, but the Quest 2 you can pass through. It kind of sucks. It's black and white, but you can see through the outside cameras, similar to the Apple one. So I hope no one's driving like that. That's just sub-zero IQ.
Oh, well, I've seen one where somebody's wearing the Apple Vision Pro and in a Tesla, presumably with autopilot on. So,
Man, you can't wait to
Uh-oh.
watch your porn at home. Like, come on.
I mean, some people, right? Anyways, I think that's it for that news on Meta, unless you guys have anything more to add. Why don't
Um
we? Yeah, go ahead.
well, we didn't talk much about Amazon too much. I felt like we can't leave someone behind. But do you mind if I just mention a few things about it?
Yeah,
I
no,
guess
go ahead. Yeah, Amazon smashed earnings as well. I didn't have the data for how much they beat, but from my understanding, it was a triple beat for Amazon as well, and their stock went up, I think, like 7 or 8% the next day. So quite a significant amount as well.
and just to add to as well, we fortunately were on this boat, so we're giving ourselves a little pat on the back for buying the stock at the right time. So at least we got that one going, and not financial advice, but PayPal. Let's see if I'll be a contender in the court. You know what I'm saying? So we'll take a look and see. So I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, no, not. I don't have that much to add on Amazon. I think like obviously it's a great beast of a company, and like don't get in the way of Amazon. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I mean, like I know like the stock has gone up a lot too, but this is at the end of the day, these companies like Meta, Amazon, Apple, you can't bet against them, because like they're the companies that are changing the world. And yes, if you look at it from a valuation standpoint, you might make an argument that this stock is too high, blah blah blah. But like, yeah, the market can remain irrational for longer than you can remain liquid. I think that's a Warren Buffett quote, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, don't bet against these companies. Is kind of not financial advice, but personal advice that I have for all of you.